Okay. Great. Welcome everyone to our WSU Food Systems HUB meeting for October 9th, 2020. And I took this picture from a presentation that Laura Raymond and I did recently on some of the work that we've been doing. Oh, hopefully you can still all hear me. And so this picture was from a presentation that Laura Raymond actually did earlier this month, specifically about the Taste Washington Day. Sorry for the background noise. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to provide an overview of the WSU Food Systems Hub. We're really excited today to have Chris Iberle here from, he's the Farm to School lead with the WSDA Regional Markets Program, and Jen Moss with WSU Extension. She's the SnapEd Region 3 Extension Coordinator Specialist. My name is Laura Lewis. I'm director of the WSU Food Systems Program, and I'm joined here by with Nicole Witham, Abba Kaiser, and Tia Taylor. We're the internal team that manages the WSU Food Systems Program. So I want to welcome everyone, have you introduce yourself in the Zoom chat box, who you are, where you're located, and what you do. And we'll use this chat box throughout the call today for questions, to share resources, to update the group about upcoming events, and then we'll make sure that those resources get posted on our hub. So the WSU Food Systems Program is a fairly new program to WSU. We've been around for just over 3 years. We seek to work with communities throughout the state to foster viable farm businesses, optimize sustainable natural resource stewardship, and to promote scaled processing and distribution, always in the pursuit of access to healthy food for all. You can see our 7 focus areas there on the right. We are spread across the state, both with our WSU faculty and staff that are part of the team, as well as our external partners. You can see WSU has offices in all 39 counties across the state, as well as on the Colville Reservation. And we work across these communities as team members to help foster and support the Washington food system. So you are part of the Hub call today. And so the WSU Food Systems Hub is to provide space to connect regularly with WSU and external partners working across the Washington food system, to collect and update resources specific to COVID-19, to help food and farm businesses across Washington, as well as those who work across the food system, and to provide time and space to share and receive support from one another. Make sure you check out our calendar of events page. We have a lot of things coming up. In particular, our Cultivating Success series is going to be starting soon. It should say 1020 on there. I took an old screenshot. I don't know why it was showing up as 1022, but it is starting soon. And we're going to talk about that right now. So Cultivating Success, we're going to be offering our whole farm planning course. It's going to be through Zoom. It's a 9-week course. It's $125. It starts October 20th and runs through December 15th. And the class meets every Tuesday from 6 to 8:30. Scholarships are available for military veterans, as well as anyone else which the course fee is a barrier. And the course will also be offered bilingually. So you can see here a list of all of the facilitators that you can contact if you're interested in enrolling in the course, or you have folks in your region that are looking at enrolling in this course. And if you need more information about it, you can always reach out to any of us as well. So it's my pleasure today to welcome one of our most important partners across the state, WSDA Regional Markets Program, and their lead for Farm to School, Chris Iberle. Chris is going to be talking about what does Farm to School look like in the 2021 school year. And he's joined today also by Jen Moss, who is our SnapEd Region 3 Coordinator Extension Specialist. So welcome, Chris and Jen. We're really looking forward to hearing about the Washington school year and Farm to School.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to see some familiar names on the call too. So I'm the Farm to School lead at the Washington State Department of Agriculture. I'll share my version of the slides now. Are those coming through okay? Great. So yeah, our farm to school work sits within the WSDA Regional Markets Program, which works statewide to support the viability of small farm businesses and direct marketing farms. And that overlaps a lot with farm to school, because especially in our state, there's a lot of schools that are wanting to buy and partner with farms in their area, and a lot of farmers that are wanting to be a part of feeding kids and selling directly to their school meal program, and part of education too. So I definitely there's a big overlap, as you're going to hear, with WSU Extension and SnapEd. So yeah, seeing a few of you on the call are probably involved in your local district or in your county, really doing a lot of this farm to school education. You know, I see Linda McLean from WSU Colville. I know great work with 4-H that they're doing there. Linda Matthews in Pierce County, and folks in other part of the state that really are on the ground, you know, working with kids, teaching them about where their food comes from. And we definitely are lucky to have a great WSU extension and SnapEd programs that are doing that farm to school education piece of farm to school. And I'm going to talk mostly about school meals right now, or for the next few minutes, and kind of give an update or overview of what that looks like during COVID-19. But just to give you a general sense, you know, when we say farm to school, we're really talking about a model that includes local food and school meals, that food and agriculture education, whether that's in the classroom or, you know, informally, in a variety of ways, and the third piece being school gardens, of which we've got hundreds in the state as well. A lot of great work happening with teachers, nonprofits, WSU Extension in a lot of cases, in their school gardens. But for today, I'll focus on the school meal side of things. So first, I mean, the main point, even beyond, you know, what's from Washington, what's local and fresh that are going to meals right now, I think it's really important to recognize the importance of school meals and the school meal program, breakfast, lunch, snacks, to food access and feeding our communities really at any time of year, or any situation, but particularly during COVID-19. So this is just one snapshot, you know, from March through June, just those few months of the year when the pandemic hit and school meal programs had, you know, their schools closing, in some cases overnight, or, you know, 48 hours, were changing their entire meal distribution to virtual remote pickup, you know, putting food on buses, trying to keep kids fed and families fed during the crisis in the spring. And that's has obviously continued. They've continued to evolve and innovate and really be creative with how to keep getting good food to kids. But they served, you know, 36 million meals, 400,000 students and families on average during any school year are part of the school lunch program. And going back to a couple of weeks ago, we heard on the hub call about the WA Food survey results, and just pulling out this graphic that shows really clearly, you know, how important school meals, summer meals lumped in with that, because a lot of schools run those programs too, almost equal to SNAP and food banks as a part of the hunger response, particularly during COVID. And I think that's continued now through the fall as, you know, kids do distance learning, virtual learning, and are continuing to pick up meals at their school, or get them in a variety of really creative ways from their school meal programs. So what does farm to school look like during COVID-19? I'll just say, you know, there's a lot of challenges with school food programs right now. You know, budgets are tight. There's having to buy more packaging. You know, their staffing and logistics are big undertakings. Getting the right waivers and just being able to have the ability to feed kids through kind of a universal model. They're able to do that right now with the USDA waiver, at least through December 31st. So any kid or family that comes that's in the district can get fed regardless and pick up meals regardless of whether they're, you know, filled out the free and reduced lunch application and gone through the administrative stuff. Right now it's just a universal feeding model, but that might change come January 1st. And so that'll be another big burden on top of many others that schools are facing. And I'm going to share some what I think are awesome examples of local foods in school meals, of farm to school surviving, thriving, and actually being part of the food system resilience through COVID. That, you know, some of these farm to school connections have been part of farmers staying, you know, in business, or having a place to sell their products in some cases, and on the school side, more reliable source of food items that they need to put in their sack lunches or put in their multi-day meal kits and food boxes. So it is actually a form of resilience. We've seen those farm to school connections be a part of that. But I also don't want to paint like an overly rosy picture of farm to school. There's definitely districts that have been, you know, really have awesome farm to school programs during normal years, and because of the situation in their district and so many factors and challenges they're facing, it's just not something they're able to do right now. So it really is across the board, up and down, highs and lows with farm to school. But definitely want to share out a few ways that schools are making it work and are, you know, committed to farm to school and committed to their local farms. So one way, you know, schools are putting locally grown and produced foods into their sack lunches, definitely just whole produce. Also a lot of individually wrapped items, you know, that's makes it easy for them to put something into a sack lunch as they pack in their cafeterias or kitchens. So some examples of like a local producer of hard-boiled eggs that are individual servings, dried cherries, cut vegetables. Obviously our milk cartons are full of Washington grown milk. You know, individual cheese sticks and things that are some producers are making that are really good fits for school meals, and all of those, you know, have options coming from Washington farms. A lot of schools are doing multi-day meal kits, so doing like 2, 5, 7 breakfast and lunch in a single pickup. So makes it easier for the school and for the families to come pick up just once a week as opposed to every day. But that opens up even more opportunities. So some schools, instead of like a half cup of chopped zucchini, they just put a whole zucchini in the box, or a whole cucumber, or a whole loaf of bread, or a big yogurt carton. And those have been some examples. I'll show a few photos here in a minute. They're including things that families can cook at home. So that opens up some of the more scratch cooking and supporting families for home cooking and just sending home the ingredients for that. And then some schools are figuring out how to get back to their scratch cooking and making hot meals in their kitchen, putting it into you know, take-home containers and sending that home with families too. With that really does help them use a variety of what's local from local farms in their take-home and eat entrees. And then we've also seen local food kind of beyond what we call reimbursable meal. So the school lunch program, as supported by USDA and OSPI and others, you know, is one format, and that's how when we talk about meals, usually that's the reimbursable meal that a school serves and then gets reimbursed by the USDA for that program. But there's also, especially during COVID, as we need to continue meeting the demand and the spike increase in food insecurity, local food beyond school meals are going out to families. So schools get fresh fruit and vegetable program grant funds that they can use to expose kids to a wide array of fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's a great opportunity, along with locally grown food box programs that have been federally funded all the way down to local grassroots funded options. And then school garden produce definitely being harvested and sent home with families too. And then the education and promotion still happening, like I said, supported by WSU Extension in so many communities, sending home handouts, educational materials, doing videos, you know, keeping kids connected to their food and learning about agriculture and where their food comes from really creatively, even during distance learning. And I'll touch on Taste Washington Day in a minute too. So what do some of these things look like? Local food going into sack lunches. In the spring, we saw bunches of Washington grown asparagus in Meade School District, which is in Northeast Washington. Milk and plums, pluots being a really popular Washington grown item that Edmond School District is sending home in sack lunches. those multi-day meal kits and boxes. Here's a few examples of those, packed full of fresh, healthy foods, and then a few locally baked bread or milk and Whatcom produced yogurt that Bellingham Public Schools was sending home, and then a few of those take-home meals, Washington grown beef, pasta sauce, and broccoli cheddar soup, I think they're making here with local broccoli, and then like little cups of local cherries from a farm in the Cookeville area. And then a few examples of those local foods that are on top of, the breakfast and lunch kind of formal program, snack programs using local berries, locally grown meal kits that Concrete Farm to School has been putting together and sending home with local foods, local grown food boxes, and some school garden harvest too is another way to just make sure fresh foods are getting home to families in the district. And it culminating in kind of our big celebration of Farm to School that happens once a year. And Farm to School, Harvest of the Month, a lot of these things happen year round, especially because we're lucky in Washington to have so many different Washington grown items that schools can feature. But we like to come together on Taste Washington Day. So that was just this week. 43 school districts participated. It's a event that WSDA coordinates, but we work closely with OSPI Child Nutrition, Washington School Nutrition Association, so many other community partners, WSU Extension and other nonprofits for sure. But yeah, here's a few examples from Wednesday. Everett Public Schools sending home some great locally grown items. You'll just see off the side here, they sent home kohlrabi. I think that was with their snack program. Pullman, of course, featuring local lentils in their harvest chili, and some Okanagan grown apples that they sent home for an apple crunch event. And then I was actually at Seattle Public Schools. They were serving a Lummi Island wild caught salmon bowl with dill and fennel from a couple Skagit Valley farmers, and some cucumbers from Skagit as well in their side salad, along with a few other Washington grown items. So it's a great celebration of Farm to School all across the state, and just a great chance for everyone to come together and celebrate Farm to School, celebrate local farms. And, I'll be honest, I was really, really excited and just, I guess, touched and inspired that so many school districts during such a challenging and unprecedented year signed up to be a part of the event in some way, figured out, using our suggested theme, make it simple. What's in the bag from Washington? Pick one item that you can feature or more that you can point out and say, hey, look, this milk is from Washington growers. And it's a great opportunity to share, what schools are doing. It's kind of a feature and highlight, at least for one day. And yeah, had a lot of great support from SnapEd and WSU Extension for Taste Washington Day. And I was hoping to turn it over here to Jen Moss to share a little bit more about what she was working on and what kind of support they were providing. She's still on the call.
I am. Hi there. Yeah, that's so exciting, Chris. I love seeing those pictures. That was really cool. So in order to try and help some of our SnapEd providers, but not just SnapEd, other folks that are also connecting with schools and other organizations during the pandemic in new and different ways. Tori Sorensen from our extension program and our SnapEd extension program in Snohomish County, and I put together a flyer that we sent out. I'm sorry, I'm not in a spot to be able to easily, there it is, show those. Thank you, Chris, for having it on there. A flyer to send out to teachers, school districts, and even food banks that we've been working with to really talk about what Taste Washington Day was and put it all together in one easy place for people to be able to just plug and play, like send this flyer along to their connections, and then hopefully make it easy for people to do this. I think that people are really overwhelmed right now. We're finding schools are really overwhelmed, obviously. And so we're trying to make things as easy as possible. So we put together this flyer. sent it out through our SnapEd networks and other places that we could. And we did get some interest from folks in being easily able to connect with their schools, teachers, and food banks. So one of the examples there that Chris is sharing is the Common Threads Farm in Whatcom County, which is one of our SnapEd providers. Their AmeriCorps folks put together a great Apple Crunch video. Can you show it, Chris? Are you able to play it?
I can try to pull it up here, maybe at the end too.
Okay, that'd be great. So they put together a video and sent that out. So really what we're trying to do is find new and different ways to promote Washington produce in schools that are COVID friendly. So another piece of putting together this flyer and trying to re-engage in this work is hopefully revitalizing, as part of our Washington State Farm to School Network, the food and agricultural education community of practice. And so next week we're having a meeting, and it's on Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. And it is, here's the information on it right there. Thank you, Chris. It's awesome. A way to connect and really start talking about, what does Harvest of the Month look like, for instance, in our schools. So traditionally, a lot of our SnapEd providers have promoted Washington produce and gotten kids excited about that produce through Harvest of the Month activities. And those have included tastings, educational opportunities, even taking kids out in the gardens. So there is some crossover to our school gardens work as well. And that obviously isn't as possible right now. So we're hoping that people can come together and start thinking about and brainstorming ways that we can do this in a different way. Chris mentioned the fresh fruit and vegetable program. I was talking with Christine from Department of Health yesterday, and there's some great opportunities there as well to have SnapEd providers or other people provide information to the school districts and the nutrition services folks that they can share out with the families as they're getting these fresh fruits and vegetable program boxes along with their meals, so that we can do some of that nutrition education and make it easy for them to include that. I know some of the requirements have relaxed a bit because of the circumstances we're in. And so if we can supplement that and help make sure that continues to happen, that would be great. So we would love to have whoever's interested in getting involved in this and exploring some different ways to do this, join us next week for that meeting or reach out. This is a great way, I think, for our Farm to School network to come together and problem solve a little bit and see where we can maybe do some innovative things.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
I will, yeah. I did want to go back and just share a couple other cool stories behind this. One thing that schools do on Taste Washington Day is the Apple Crunch. Great Washington Apple Crunch. Students get together and do like an Apple Crunch at noon. That was the photo from Grandview that Laura started with. And leave it up to Common Threads and really creative SNAP educators and their AmeriCorps staff to expand that to crunching Washington veggies. And I'll try to play this video too. So that was there on the left side. You can see them crunching lettuce, and they did a whole bunch of other vegetables. And just a cool story of working together to support schools in various communities around the state. Yakima School District signed up to be a part of Taste Washington Day this year. 2 days before I got this flyer, which was a 4-pager from Jen that included a Spanish version, which was exciting because this is the first Spanish material that's like Taste Washington Day specific we've been able to do. So kind of late on that, but excited that we were able to get that from Jen. And Yakima School District was looking for something in Spanish they could send out to their families. We're able to send that to them. So let me see if I can play this video, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a couple of next steps. And if somebody could let me know if the sound is going, because you need the sound to hear the crunch.
We don't hear anything yet. You might have to reshare your screen, Chris, and have it optimized for video sharing.
Any luck? No.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so great little video there from Common Threads, and just honestly, the putting out things like that that are Washington specific, or we've seen virtual education videos from school gardeners, people trying to expand and like Jen mentioned, just figure out how do we do this education around food, agriculture, growing your own, meeting local farmers. There's actually Laura wants to see the Grandview one too from this year. I can pull that up at the end. They did a really cool one with their Grandview high schoolers ASB program. Meeting your farmer. So like Edmonds School District went out to a dairy farm in the Snohomish County area and just did a live stream, from a local dairy farmer. So the things are starting to happen, and it's exciting to see people pivot and transition and adapt, even though it's, a tough thing to pull off in some ways too. So just to wrap up and kind of start questions and play the Grandview high schooler video. Like Jen mentioned, the Food and Agriculture Education Community of Practice is a great place if you're an educator or if you want to join this conversation around virtual or at-home education, anything like that. This is a great place to connect with other members of the Washington State Farm to School Network and other peers doing this kind of work. There's other communities of practice too. So we do some work through the local food and school meals group that I kind of help convene. There's a school gardeners and farm-based education group that includes folks like Common Threads, Tilth Alliance, and other, dozens of school gardeners across the state. And then Farm to Childcare and ECE, which actually also has some upcoming programming. The OSPI Child Nutrition and the Department of Health are putting together virtual training on farm to ECE and childcare centers, so preschoolers, around the same topics, education, gardening, outdoor learning, using local foods in childcare snacks. And that's going to be on October 24th, and you can sign up for that link there. Other resources to tap into. This is our WSDA Farm to School Toolkit. We have things for schools and educators and teachers, resources for farmers, tips, fact sheets, stuff we've developed at WSDA along with collected from, in fact, other WSU Extension SnapEd offices, and posters, flyers, handouts, to educational tools basically. And the Washington Grown Food and Recipe Kit is organized by item, so over 40 different ingredients that you can tap into various teaching tools on that toolkit there. And just to pitch, or kind of, if you're involved in various efforts or looking for ways to be a part of supporting farm to school or school meals, just a couple of my suggestions. So one, if you have school age kids, eat school lunch, eat school breakfast, be a part of the program. Actually, especially right now, even if you would normally be on free and reduced lunch, like anybody coming to the school and getting their school lunch in their district is an important thing to support the programs. They can keep doing what they're doing to serve, low-income families. The importance of school lunch in communities of color too. So eat school lunch, always a recommendation. If you're curious what's happening near you in your districts, in your county, or other partners that are working on this, the Washington State Farm to School Network is a great place to start. All the members that sign up for that network are on a directory, so you can kind of look up who's doing what near you. You can also reach out to me at WSDA Farm to School. Try to keep track of everything that's happening in local districts and counties and communities across the state the best I can. So happy to refer you and get you plugged in. Definitely, not leaving out school gardens or any educational and teaching opportunities too. That's definitely a big part of Farm to School. And definitely ways to get involved in those programs in your communities too. If you're really interested in the school meal side of things and farm to school or using more local ingredients, find out what your nutrition program staff need. Especially with farm to school, often, finding the time to coordinate with local farms, find out what's available, which farms are interested, what they want to supply. That's work that, I think actually WSU Extension, we often suggest in their county might be a good resource for school nutrition staff to work with. So there's support there, marketing and promotion, what's on the menu, helping to highlight good, fresh and local foods in so many cases that school meal programs are providing, and letting the community know about that, and parents and families know, what their school is serving, the nutrition that goes into it, the love and hard work that so many school nutrition staff are putting into it, especially right now. So just sharing that story and making sure it's out there and aware. A few other solutions, things that if you're interested in supporting school meals and local food, beyond what's happening in your district, well, starting with your district, the school board and administrators being aware of how they can support farm to school and school meals in their district, I think is a really important piece at the district level. For sure, universal school meals and, helping school districts and nutrition programs have the flexibility and the capacity to focus on things like farm to school is helped by just being able to feed every kid that needs a meal through things like universal feeding. Right now, process and prep local food items like you saw, individually wrapped bags and boxes and packaging that is actually a need even before COVID or without the schools putting in things into bags and boxes, even things on their salad bars or into their scratch cooking. They often need it coming in a fresh cut or packaged or prepped way. So trying to develop more of those items and supporting them. Schools just need funds for purchasing local foods. Those have been mobilized at community foundations, grassroots levels, all the way up to proposals to provide more purchasing funds for schools at the state and federal level, and then increase food access programs at schools too. So schools, as we've seen, are a central point for education, but also so many other services and local food boxes, supporting programs like that, using the school as a community hub for food access, along with obviously education and teaching materials, especially during the school closures. Kids are coming there and families are coming to pick up all the things they need to learn at home too. So just a long list of various ways you might fit in or what you're interested in being a part of. And I'll try to pull up the Grandview High Schooler Apple Crunch video and just open it up to questions or really even suggestions from any of the other great folks on the call, what you're doing in your districts and your communities right now.
Thank you so much, Chris. Be thinking about those questions as he's queuing up this video, and we'll get started with discussion.
Hello and welcome to the official Apple Crunch video brought to you by
This is Laura Raymond. While Chris is queuing that up, I'm also with WSDA Regional Markets, for those of you who don't know me. And while Chris is queuing that up, I'll just say that every year we request that school districts that are doing something exciting or whatever they're doing for Taste Washington Day, that they share those updates with us. So we can promote them, and Chris collects them, and it's really so fun to see. Every year, pretty much without fail, the Grandview School District near Moses Lake wins the prize for volume, hands down, in terms of their posts and their photographs and their just overall district-wide enthusiasm for the Apple Crunch. So they really outdid themselves this year, especially considering the circumstances. And the high school ASB put together this video that Chris is trying to get us to be able to see. It's just really fun.
Yeah,
Chris,
and this
you
is
might-
all.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to
No,
say you
just-
might want to stop sharing and reshare.
Yeah, I think I've got it, and I'll
Great.
do it with sound. And it makes sense, right? Grandview's in the southern part of the Yakima Valley. They're in apple country. So I think that's one of those reasons. But yeah, they do like big apple crunches in normal years, like with tons of students and tons of photos. And just wanted to, I know Linda Matthews put in a comment about what they're doing in Pierce, and they do promote their Harvest of the Month. And actually, thanks to them for some posters and things that we've put onto that WSDA Farm to School toolkit that I got from Linda a year or two ago. They've got some great posters and resources that are really great as well. All right, well, hopefully the sound, if the sound's not coming through, let me know. But
Hello and welcome to the official Apple Crunch video brought to you by Graham ASB.
Sorry, the bus is only for the end.
All right, hounds, are you ready for the apple crunch? Grab your apple and we'll bite on 3. 1, 2.
Dude, nice job. That was a solid crunch. High five and go Hounds.
so yeah, really awesome. And of course, when I saw that, I said, man, leave it up to Grandview. Again, they outdid themselves. Even in a pandemic, they figured out a way to do a really cool, fun, engaged, student leadership. I think it's a really important thing too. And having them put this together is, yeah, a really, really great thing to do the Apple Crunch this year.
That is so great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's open it up for questions. Comments? Anyone else want to share what they're doing as well? As Chris said, we'd love to hear your stories about Farm to School.
I'm just curious, for those of us that don't know, from Linda's comment, what's FFVP stand for? Harvest of the Month I got.
Yeah, sure. The FFVP is the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, which is a grant that schools apply for, and then they get purchasing funds to rotate through. It's actually exposing kids to new foods, new fruit and vegetable foods. So it's often someplace they're doing really unique items. That's where that kohlrabi came up, because the schools use those funds to buy a wide variety of diverse fruits and vegetables, and then do some education around it. So that's where Linda and WSU Extension in Pierce has been involved in helping, with that education around the diverse fruits and vegetables they're serving through the program.
Yeah, this is Linda. Sorry for throwing that acronym out there like that. It's it happens through OSPI, Office of Superintendent Public Instruction, and it's USDA funded. And I'm really not up to snuff on where those folks are at this year. So Chris or Jen, if anyone can fill us in, I haven't looked at their website, and I'm not even sure in our county and districts who received the program for this year. It's very sought after, and there's only so much money to go around, and so it's pretty competitive. It usually goes to the highest needs schools, but the deadline for applying happens pretty early in the year, like around February or March. So I'm wondering how many people actually got it together to do that this past year. Does anybody know?
Yeah, I do know. I've been waiting to get that info from OSPI. I think they posted it just last week, honestly. And so you can go, I'll try to find a link to it if they have the list online of schools that were awarded those grants. And I'm actually on the cusp. I've been coordinating with OSPI to get the word out to schools about, using those funds and those the program to buy local, how they could go about doing that. But yeah, fresh off the presses, the list of schools I think is posted, and those grant awards were announced. So I'll try to get the link for that.
Well, I'm just so glad to hear that it's going to be a happening thing. Thanks.
I have a question about infrastructure. So you showed a lot of great examples of how school kitchens are doing some scratch cooking and putting together meals, you know, individual meals that are being taken home, as well as some of these meal boxes and so forth, and or even like soups and whatnot. And I'm wondering if schools that did not necessarily have that infrastructure in the first place have been able to get grants, or if there's been capacity to help support that side of being able to deliver these locally grown products.
Yeah, great question. Huge need across the board. Kitchens in districts are ranging anywhere from brand new shiny kitchens at Bellingham Public Schools that they got their school bond funding for just a year or two ago to build a new central kitchen from scratch to do that scratch cooking more effectively, ranging to schools that have broken stoves and, you know, chock full refrigerators. So it really is a wide spectrum, and it is a huge gap, especially as schools of many districts across the state are striving and working towards getting back to scratch cooking, getting away from prepackaged foods that come in, you know, like ready to eat, that are like highly processed, and that allows them to use more local ingredients. And so OSPI has a healthy food, healthy kids grant program that's for equipment. And there's a USDA equipment grant program too. So definitely schools tap into that with the intent of using it for more scratch cooking and using local and farm to school ingredients. Sometimes they're also just replacing broken stuff. And then actually during the pandemic too, since schools are now saying, okay, now we need to package everything. We need heat sealers. We need baggers, things to make this more efficient, especially if we're doing thousands of meals a day. There are other rapid response kind of crisis grants that have come out. And Youth program is one that's granting equipment and logistics that actually are Washington State Dairy Council, another big partner with Farm to School. They've been supporting at the state level, but that's a federal program too. There's a few others.
Is there any CARES Act? Is that something that the CARES Act would have covered as well? Or maybe some of that funding was flow through from CARES Act?
That is a good question. The sense that I've gotten from OSPI and other school districts is that, I'll say unfortunately, CARES Act funding some went to school districts, but it didn't quite make it to some of the school meal programs. It's a bit of just what I've heard or editorializing, I think, but there was a bit of a disconnect, I think, at some level around that. And I think since then, or since maybe the first few months, school district meal programs have started to tap into that CARES Act funding. But yeah, I think that's been a challenge.
This is Laura Raymond. I would just add that the pandemic EBT program, which is linked to schools, although not about the school meal program, but is another way to get more nutrition assistance to families. It was part of the CARES Act. It's not the CARES funding that states or counties received for their emergency public health needs, but there were some additional kind of nutrition access elements to the CARES Act, though not, as Chris is saying, not direct support for this National School Lunch Program. And so if I could say too, I think the point that Chris made is one that's really becoming clearer that I'd love to share with all of this group, because you are in the position of, communicating out to your communities. The way that I think you're all familiar with the way the National School Lunch Program works. Chris mentioned reimbursable meals. And so schools generally base their budgets on an expectation of a certain number of meals that they're going to be providing and then getting reimbursement for. And that covers food costs, but also it covers a lot of their operational costs. And because the number of participants in the school meal program generally overall is dropped quite a bit with the home meal, go pick up your meal model that they're working on. It's been kind of slow to catch up. Everybody's working in emergency mode, but we're really concerned that a lot of school districts' meal programs are really going to be in trouble because they're not able to request reimbursement for the number of meals that their budgets rely on. So we're really starting to want to kind of be communicating broadly about the way that school meals can be helpful for everybody who's at home right now. I mean, certainly it's a really important form of healthy food and nutrition access for families who are having budget crunches and could really use that economic support. But also, it's a pretty convenient thing for everybody to have. Everyone's trying to work with schools on weird schedules and teach from home and work from home, and it's just a lot. And so actually relying on your public school meal program as a way to have some lunches made and have some food and menu planning done, it can really help everybody. And so that increasing participation overall in the National School Lunch Program during this time can really be helpful.
Yeah, I just want to add to that too. Well, for one, it's good food. And if you're familiar with school lunch from 20 or 30 years ago, it looks a lot different than it did then, as you saw with a lot of examples like smoked salmon chowder and other special things schools are doing. But just to keep that in mind, school lunch is great, nutritious, fresh in so many cases. And I will say, I think, actually, I've suggested to some districts to try to tap into some of the CARES Act funding if it's available, or find out, if they're looking for buying equipment, to ask their county or their district or see where some of that is at. So I think some of them have started to make those inquiries and those requests.
Any more questions? Well, thank you so much, Chris and Jen and Laura, for participating today and sharing so much information. And I really am excited to see, one of the things that we looked at with the WSU Food Survey, which you showed some of the results looking at food access programs. And we're hoping to do that survey again sometime this winter to really look at those access points, because we did look at that up until the end of July, but it was during summer. So you could see the use of the summer meal, or the farm to school programs, not farm to school, the school meal programs had decreased, but it was also during the percent use had decreased, but it was also during the summer. And so we're anticipating to see a big jump in that. And it's one of the things that we think that we didn't really capture some of the longer term trends. So I'm excited to be able to do some follow-up work with that and support the work that you're all doing as well, just in terms of understanding utilization of these programs. And like you said, the point is, for all of us to be supporting those programs and utilizing them as much as they can, just to support the entire sector that's dependent on that. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and the information that you shared with all of us today. Again, before we move on, any last comments or questions for our farm to school folks and SnapEd? Great. Well, I want to just open this up for general time to bring anything else up that you want to talk about. I wanted to also let you know that we're going to have TILF Alliance presenting next week, specifically about their upcoming conference and their programs. And so we're excited to have them here next week. Any other questions, comments, ideas for upcoming speakers? I know that we're filling slots up until about mid-November, but we're always interested in hearing from all of you about topics that you'd like to see addressed.
This is Gwen, and Aaron, I think you're on here too, so jump in if you want to. I was actually going to say we'd love some help actually passing on the word about the TILT conference, and wonder if passing it on to farmers and just getting the word out a little bit more, and wondering if anyone would be willing to help do that. And I can forward, or one of us, Erin or I, could forward the link, which we could put that in chat right now. But I was also thinking we could forward an email, our emails that have gone out, that you all could just forward on to people. Wondering if anybody'd be willing to help with that.
Yeah, we can try to send it out also maybe to the county directors list, because they have all of their staff are the ones that manage county level farmer listservs that are specific for those regions. So we could send that out just through the county directors list for WSU Extension.
That would be awesome.
It's already gone out through, WFFR and the food systems, but that would be another access point.
Okay. I just put the link for the actual our website in the chat, but I actually think it might be helpful to, should I send it to you, Laura, or Nicole, like forward the?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, or I'll ask Erin the best way to do it, but to actually forward an email that would be easier to forward on, because it has more information about the keynote speakers and deadlines and things like that. So
sounds good.
Thank you.
I know I put in a plug for Cultivating Success starting soon, but we also have RAD TV, which I think Abba's still on the call. She's going to be co-producing that with the Culinary Breeding Network, and that is all about radicchio, and that's on October 24th. So that's coming up as well. Anyone else who has educational resources, funding resources that they know of, exciting events that they want to share? Oh, Henry was not able to join us today from Business Impact Northwest, but he wanted to share again they extended the application deadline, and this is for the Ready to Sell Farm e-commerce program for King County. So farmers who are in King County, this is a really important program that you have access to. So please spread the word about that. Okay, and we're going to be, like I said, Tilt Alliance will be here next week. We're really excited to hear all about the conference and programs. Please send us your information. We'll continue to update the website. If you have speaker ideas, let us know about those as well. We're really excited to convene with you every single week. We hope that you all have a great week ahead, and we will see you on the 16th. Take care.